life, RJ. How are you, sir? Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me, Joe. I know you guys have taken a big interest in Big Red, and we really love it over here. Want to give a shout out to you guys. I know you've done a couple of articles on us, really flattering. And, we love to reach out to new people. And, we always find when we get to areas where people don't know about us that we get a lot of interest. And I love it that you're carrying the banner down there in South Africa.
It's only a pleasure from our side. I mean, Big Red, the story and everything, it's such an amazing thing that you guys have done. You guys deserve all the support that there is. But is this now, I heard you guys have got a new headquarters. Is this the new headquarters that you guys have done?
Yes, in fact, you are sitting in the new worldwide headquarters for Big Red. And, before this stuff was done kind of all over the place, eventually we did rent an office, and quickly it wasn't big enough. We had stuff in storage in different places, and finally we said, hey, we really need to bring it all together. And this is the new location. It's about 1,850 square feet. I can take you around in a bit, but basically, this is where we do all the film editing, social media, fulfillment for all the products that we send out. And also, we just also have our new CXC simulator race machine, which we can also demonstrate for you guys. It's something that a lot of the professional race car drivers are using this particular simulator, keep up their skills, learn new tracks. I actually learned Pikes Peak on an earlier version of this machine, and it was very effective. Pikes Peak, 12.5 miles, 153 turns. It's really very hard to ever practice on it because it's a public highway. And a lot of the guys that know it just have been there for years. But anyway, these machines allowed me to actually learn it. And when I got there, I was able to turn a competitive time. I really wouldn't have been able to do it without the simulator. So now that we're here during the COVID time, go ahead.
No. We had a guy on the other day. His name's Ryan. He's actually building the simulator for Gymkhana Grid for Monster. So we've been dealing quite a lot with the simulator guys actually, and the racing. And I watched the Le Mans 24 hours. I don't know if you guys watched that. That was done on simulators as well.
It's really incredible. The technology has finally gotten to the point where it's that it makes sense that you can actually learn stuff on the simulator and apply it to the real world. And it's really incredible. I think this is really just the beginning of a whole new world of that. Because, racing, it's expensive and hard to access tracks, and it's just a hard thing to do. And I think the simulator opens up a whole new world of people of competitive driving. And I found it very interesting, starting really only in the real world, and really, knowing race cars, and then coming to the simulator and trying to replicate what we were doing on the track. And it's really been quite an experience, and we can demonstrate some of that.
But have you guys found that it helps you with setting up the car as well? So you can, from a condition perspective, cornering and all that type of stuff?
Yes, ultimately, yes. In the beginning, a lot what you're trying to do is get the simulator to be like the real car is. But once you kind of get that figured out, and I think we're real close now, you can make exactly the same type of changes that they do in the real world, like camber and tow, and the way they do it and the degrees and the measurements. It's exactly the same on the simulator. So it's really, the simulator was really built as a tool to be used for racing, not a video game. And it's something I have to warn people about, because everyone comes over, everyone wants to get on the simulator, and I just say, hey, it's not a video game. It's actually, when you first get on it, it's really not all that much fun. And if you want to go fast, you have to work at it, and then it can be a lot of fun. But it's not a video game. It's not the real world either, but it's not a video game. It's something in between, and it's a lot of fun.
That looks so much fun.
It is. That's why I don't mind doing it again. Otherwise, I'm sweaty, but
But the fact that you can come out of a shitty meeting and go, okay, screw this, I'm just going to go get in the simulator and I'm going to go race a track, and you pick a track around the world. I mean, that is insane,
No, it's the simulator. Like I said, it brings in a whole new world. You know, growing up, I did a lot of racing, but even doing a lot of racing meant that I'd race maybe once a month. Maybe we'd go out one extra time for practice and setup and stuff. But you don't get to do it all the time, and it's only at dedicated times. And it's and the simulator, I feel it does. It allows me to say, hey, I'd like to relook at that track again and that turn. I'd like to play around with some gears. I'd like to do stuff. And there's just no way you can do it in the real world. You just don't have enough days, time, money. It just, there's limitations.
Exactly. Well,
computer.
Well, I mean, you're saving on tires. You're saving on fuel. Your travel, moving around, all this type of stuff. And like you said, you can. If there's a one corner that you're struggling with, you can go hit that corner every day for, until you get that corner right. You can get your timings right. You can get your brake points, braking markers and all that type of stuff. And it does make sense. And the fact that technology's, like it's amazing how technology has caught up to that. That environment now exists, I mean, you just raced the track in South Africa.
Never been to South Africa. You can see I know the track. I know it now. I did a couple practice runs before we called you up. But great track, technical. I feel like I got the feel for a lot of, like, I know the turns that are blind and the break points. I'm assuming it's accurate. But from what I've seen at other tracks and Pikes Peak and other places where I've done this, it is accurate. It's quite accurate. Sometimes you get a little different view angle from but it's still very helpful. For me, the simulator, it's not a replacement for the racing, but it's a tool I use to make the racing that I do better and more efficient, if you will. In the old days, you'd have to get to a new track, and I'd have to waste a whole day just learning the track, and you're not going fast, and you're wearing the car out, and you're just learning the course. And if you can eliminate that initial part on the simulator, that really is something. It'll allow you to do more racing, better racing, because you're better prepared when you get there. So that's really how I'm seeing it, and also just opening up new venues. Not only Kailami, but a lot of people have been asking about Nürburgring, and that's the longest course in the world in Germany. And I think it's like 17 and a half miles or something. And, that'd be one of those. I'd be like, hey, guys, if you want me to go to Germany for like 2 weeks and learn the monster, where I can learn it right now on the simulator. So it opens up the possibility of going there and, in one day, just driving the course competitively.
But now, how did you get Big Red? Did you guys have to send Big Red's details in, or do you guys employ someone to develop the section so you can get Big Red into the system?
Yeah, no, it's a very good question. Obviously, we know all the numbers for Big Red because we, the team tracks them, and we're very interested in, the car was working this way at this track with these conditions, and then we compare it and we say, well, how should we set it up at this track? So they actually have the history of all the different setups and what the ideal setups are at different tracks and stuff. When it comes to the simulator, the way, we worked with the guys at CXC that really developed this simulator, and they look at it the other way around. They have to put the inputs in and the options in so you can dial in any car. You know what I mean? So they actually do it the same way. They have camber adjustments, and they try to make the camber adjustments do what they would do in the real world. And really, it comes down to the software and the programming of how good that is. But I can tell you from my surprise, it's quite good, because what we did is we took all the numbers and angles and all the data. We've done dyno runs on the engine. I mean, we know all the numbers of Big Red. So we took those and gave them to the software guys, and like they do so many other cars. I mean, it's incredible. You go in there, they have every make of car. They have special race cars of everything. It's incredible. They have hundreds of cars and hundreds of tracks. And so this is just one more customized one we're doing. And I think the guys at CXC had a lot of fun working on it because they were like, wow, they go, this car really exists. They're like, has this much power and this kind of handling? And they're like, the first guy that drove it on the simulator is like, this car is undrivable, you know? Do. It's like if you put it down on paper, what we've done with Big Red, they'd be like, this thing ain't gonna work well at all, you know. But getting it to work well and learning how to drive it, and you know, and we do stuff. I mean, you know, I don't know how much it translates, but I just did a 157.2 at Kailami. I don't know. Most people probably wouldn't expect a '69 Camaro to break 2 minutes.
Exactly.
But times at the track, I'm learning them from the simulator, and assuming that they're relevant, which I think they may be.
You know, the only way we're going to test this theory is you're going to have to stick Big Red on the ship and just come to South Africa and come race Kailami. You know?
I think you're right. I think I'm going to have to take you up on that.
Definitely. I've actually got, I think in the next week or so, I'll have the guys from that Samoa Hill Climb will be on the show as well. So we're going to talk to them because, I mean, I'd love to get you guys through for that as well. Tell us about you and your background in racing. I mean, you've been piloting, how long have you been piloting Big Red now?
Well, you know, Big Red, it's a father and son project. It was something, you know, me and my dad, you know, my parents got divorced when I was a teenager, and you know, as I was getting older, my dad, I think he wanted to spend time with me and wanted to do stuff with me, and we had certain days of the week I would see him, and that was really the beginning of it. During that time, you know, we started, I didn't even have my driver's license yet, but we started looking at different cars, and we started repairing and renovating some of the cars on our own, just real simple stuff, and I just started learning about it. And when I turned 16, he took me to Bob Bondurant School of Racing. And at the time, I was at Sears Point, a real interesting technical track. And I sort of got my first taste of road racing there. And, you know, I also did a lot of drag racing at the time because in order to have a road racing license, you have to be 18. So the first couple of years, driving schools, and I did a lot of drag racing. I eventually, even when I was 18, I got up to pro stock.
Wow.
And competing with guys like Bob Glidden. Of course, he always beat me, but I did compete with him. You know, doing the quarter mile, low sevens at the time for pro stock. I know it's a lot faster now, but this is ancient history. But then eventually, you know, we got more, when I turned 18, we got more into road racing, and my dad rented rides for me, you know, where I did a Southwest Tour, a Trans Am, GT1. And eventually, you know, we built our own car. And it was at that time that we discovered there was a lot of races that weren't specific events that were programmed. You know, there were like one-off events where anyone could come. And, you know, they started, you know, the first one that we knew of was down in Mexico in the La Carrera Classic. And that's where, you know, we wanted to build a car specifically for those kind of races. And you know, the first time we went down there with some modified street cars, and it was a whole new world of what we saw could be done, that these guys would put in built engines into a Chevelle, an old Chevelle, and it looked like a piece of junk, and the guy would go, hey, you want to race pink slips, so, you know, against the Lamborghini, that would also be down there. And, you know, they wouldn't, but the Chevelle would beat the Lamborghini. And you'd open up the hood, and then you'd see this totally built 600 horsepower, you know, 350, you know, whatever he had done. And we realized, you know, that you didn't have to buy a Ferrari to go fast. And in fact, you could go faster by putting together your own car. And I think that was the beginning of it. And my favorite car at the time was the 1969 Camaro with hideaway headlights. And so my dad, we bought an old one, and it kind of grew from there. Actually, you know, the first Big Red was actually a modified Camaro and was actually totaled in one of the La Carrera races. And it was after that that we really decided to, or my dad really decided, you know, he'd build a ground-up race car, and went to Bill Osborne, Inland Chassis Design. And Bill had the idea of, hey, I want to build a full tube chassis car, similar to a NASCAR, but we'll build it with the dimensions to be able to put the 69 Camaro body on it. Instead of going the other way, instead of taking a 69 Camaro and modifying it, this would be a race car that would be built for the show. And that was really the beginning. I mean, that was the car that inspired many other people to build their cars that really turned into pro touring. And it was kind of the next step after hot rodding. Hot rodding, a lot of the guys came back from World War II, and they knew about the, working on the cars, mechanics, and they did a lot of these big horsepower blown cars, but they really couldn't handle well. They couldn't brake well. They really weren't engineered to perform like the European exotic cars. And Pro Touring was the first time that they said, hey, let's take that big American horsepower engine car and let's stick with the Mustang or the Camaro. But let's bring up the suspension, the brakes, everything to the level where it can compete with a Ferrari. And that was really, we probably underestimated at the time that of the passion that brought out in people, because when people saw us go out there and even beat the Ferraris and beat the Lamborghinis in the '69 Camaro, a car that they had worked on, a car that they had owned at one time, maybe a car they own now, a car that they had done the project with their dad, like me. And it just touched the hearts of people. And, to our surprise, the legend of the car has only grown, and we've really gone with it. We've tried to continue to improve it over the years, kind of always trying to do new challenges, not always doing the same races. My dad actually started the Silver State Classic, the big road race that they did in Nevada, done that many times. But we wanted to go on and do more stuff, like we did the Pikes Peak. We eventually went to Bonneville, got a record at Bonneville. And it's just been, it's really been a fabulous journey. And lately, we've done a lot of the high-speed stuff where the car looks stranger than I'd like it to be. For the longest time, I always wanted the car to look like the clean, classic '69 Camaro. It was part of the dream that my dad had, that we'd go out to these races, and he would always say, he goes, oh, that's a bone stock '69 Camaro, and people kind of look at it and they go, oh, bone stock, huh? And they kind of knew more was going on, but that was kind of the fun with it. And so we always wanted to keep the car looking like a stock '69 Camaro, and I think it's part of the reason why people love the car so much. Eventually we got to the point where we were doing these runway races and doing, a mile and a half under power. And if we wanted to take the next step and go a lot faster, we had to do a Pro Charger. And there was no way we could keep the hood looking the same if we wanted to go there. And, we tried a number of different hoods and different ideas and different things. And eventually we ended up with the lowest one I could, which was a big bubble thing over the top. And, the only thing is I love going to all these different races, but these high-speed races, the car really looks strange. Like even at Bonneville, it looks like, you can tell it's Big Red, but it's been messed with. And there's nothing I like more than going to these road races, like at Willow Springs, where we compete and the car really looks bone stock, the way we sort of meant it to be. And we're sort of getting back to this with the simulator. The simulator, we programmed the car to look like its stock self, and we have the road race setup. Obviously, the setup that we do for Bonneville is completely different than the setup we do for the road races, like Willow Springs. Yeah. And I know I want you guys. I was like, hey, so what's the big track in South Africa? And I've never been to South Africa, so I haven't driven the track. And they're like, oh, it's Kyalami. I got the simulator. Time to let's do some laps on Kyalami, and let's do their track. So that's something we can do here too. Maybe at some point we'll bring you over to the simulator.
That's gonna be awesome.
Big Red at Kyalami. But it's one thing people got to understand, that Big Red was built as a huge horsepower car to do these high-speed races like La Carrera, like Silver State. And we race them at these tracks. The car's heavy. It's probably 3,700 pounds. And it's got a lot of horsepower. And without it naturally aspirated, it'll put out over 1,000 horsepower. And, it doesn't have the ground effects that a lot of the new cars have. It doesn't have the right shape. There's a very steep angle on the windshield. And so it's kind of like I'm kind of accepting, not the perfect car to be able to drive Big Red everywhere. You know what I mean? And so I might take a line that you guys are like, wow, this looks kind of strange. But you got to realize, Big Red, I can get back up to speed real quick. You know what I mean? But I can't go through the turn as fast. So I might have to brake more, do more turning in the beginning, then get back on the gas, then all the, you know what I mean? It's a different line. I even, they do a suggested line on the simulator, and it never works for Big Red, because Big Red's a different line than a typical car that will have less horsepower and better handling. But that said, love the car.
Yeah.
Good.
You've got physics that are going up against you, basically. You know, like I said, your design and everything. The Camaro was built as a daily driver. It wasn't solely built as a race car. So it obviously makes sense. And the fact that she's still all steel. I mean, you're competing against cars that are massively with carbon, like more carbon fiber and that type of stuff than anything else, like I said. But it's what you guys achieve that is a fact. And the fact that you've got this car that's got multiple application. You're not just a Bonneville car. I mean, the amount of guys we know that they build a car and it's just for Bonneville, and every year that's their goal. You guys do so many different races, so many different setups and stuff. It just boggles my mind always to see how you guys sit and adapt according to each event. It's just that's what makes Big Red so special, I think. You know.
Yes, Big Red it suffers from multiple personalities, but it's one of the things we love about it. You know, I find all the races we go to, all the racers are specialized usually in that area. And I feel very lucky that we get to meet all these different groups. And, you know, my goal for Big Red is not that we win every event, because we can't, but that we're competitive at each event, that we make a good show. You know what I mean? That guys go, wow, that 69 Camaro, you know, I didn't think, you know, we always get there and they always think, hey guys, it's a beautiful car, but, you know, you're going to have a tough time doing what you want to do. And usually we get done what we want to do. So it's just having a lot of fun with it.
I want to come see you guys at Bonneville. I want to come see you guys do Pikes Peak. I think that must be one of the most spectacular things ever, is watching you guys do Pikes Peak.
We'd love to have you, Joe. Come down. Actually, I can take you on a tour right now. We'll do a simulated. We'll do not simulated tour, but I'll do a video tour, and you can take a look. But we'd love to have you come down to the office, come down to the shop that we have in Victorville, see the car, meet the crew. You know, you have an open invitation.
Then we can drink some bourbon.
Absolutely. Well, you saw the bar we got, and you know it's the history of NASCAR and racing, so we had to do it.
It's a rule. It's part of history. You can't say no to that part. You know.
Like you, Joe. You're great. All right, can we do the tour?
Yeah, let's do a tour quickly, if you guys don't mind.
Worldwide headquarters for Big Red.
Yeah.
All right. So here we are at the worldwide headquarters for Big Red. This is where we do all the video editing, social media, send out all the T-shirts, DVDs, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, you see that up there, BRC, number 1. Come here, the red door. And of course, Big Red on the door. And then we'll go take a look inside. Of course, you've come into here, everything Big Red. Here we, we'll often have videos on, all the DVDs, the little cars. Kind of come over here to, just have some Big Red stuff. The trophies from Bonneville. An old helmet. My dad used to race open face. That's the only one he'd wear. Drag racing, they allowed it back then. They don't allow it anymore. More little goodies of Big Red. Come over here to where we have a lot of the magazines we've been in. And you can see, Hot Rod. We love Hot Rod. They put us on the cover 3 times. Usually they won't do it more than once.
Exactly.
And then we got the build book over here. The great build book. And so this is where a lot of the magic happens. We've also, something we'll show you, but we also got a new race simulator. It's something that the professional drivers are really using these days during the COVID time. Keep their skills up, learn tracks. You can see we've got the 3-panel setup here now. You can use the VR helmet. It's a much more immersive better. But we'll do a demonstration of the screen so you can see what we're doing. But a lot of fun. And of course, we've got it all built out Big Red. You can see the shifter. The seat's actually aluminum Kirky seat that we actually use in Big Red. We also have the steering wheel on it. This is the actual Big Red steering wheel. We got another one of them. But we have other steering wheels. So we got the Formula 1 wheel, GT wheel, a lot of fun. So then we go over here to our actual offices where we do the work. This is where a lot of the video editing happens. And Of course, everything on the wall is Big Red. You can see another editing office. Come over here. A lot of people do artwork for Big Red, and they send it to us, and we really love it. And I get the stuff framed, and we hang it up around the office. This is some of it.
Beautiful.
Here's the whole lounge area. You come in, more all dedicated to Big Red posters. A lot of good stuff. This is where we'll look at a lot of the video that we're cutting and editing. Here you come into the kitchen area where it's still all Big Red, as you can see. And then down at the end, it's a tribute to the history of NASCAR and racing. We have a full bourbon bar. All good stuff. And coming through here, we got more of the artwork that people have done. Really like that stuff. I know Kevin Major Howard, he was Rafter Man in Full Metal Jacket. You can see he does a lot of work with charities and police and soldiers. Come over here to the head guy's office, Josh's. Here we got there's actually a painting of Big Red done from a photo. I really like that.
That is beautiful.
And just different articles, like Pikes Peak article on Hot Rod. Anyway, you get the idea. And then actually where a lot of the real work's done here, we'll take you into the fulfillment room so you can see it's just not all fun and games here. You see T-shirts is where we send all the stuff out, the posters, DVDs, all that kind of stuff. So this is where it all happens.
That's it.
But yeah, it's not the car. Not to be confused, the car actually isn't here. We're in West LA. The car lives out at a shop in Victorville. And, the rents are just too high to have the car out here. But someday we may have to roll it out here just to invite anyone out and show it off.
Exactly. Just burn some rubber. But I wanted to ask you, how did you guys get to, you guys have now done the documentary on Big Red. How did you guys get to that point of doing the documentary and everything?
Well, the car, we've been running it for years. And many articles have been done on it, and over the years, more and more people would come to me and tell me the history of it. Say, hey, this happened or that happened, or I understand this is, or some other guy had it and stuff. And so many inaccurate versions started coming out. I wanted to tell the story as it really was, and why a lot of the people that had a lot to do with it were still around. Actually, at that time when we decided to do it, the original builder of Big Red, Bill Osborne, passed away. And I started to realize that, my engine builder is older. And, I just started to realize, I said, we need to document what we've done here. This is an effort that started really back in the mid 80s and lives to this day. When people come to me and ask me about Big Red, it's hard to sum it up just into, one conversation. And I really love the opportunity that I had to be able to document what we did and take the camera to the places we go and actually experience the races firsthand. And so it was, something I was really happy to do. I mean, it's something that, it did really well on TV, but the TV guys, they want something every year, they want a new one every year. And it's not something that we could deliver. So that they weren't, it's kind of a one-off. But we told the story as it is. We didn't make stuff up. We didn't do that reality show stuff where they, make things happen a certain way and ride a certain way. We really did a documentary of Big Red and what we did. And it was interesting enough that it held its own. And a lot of people say that to us. So it was a really great show. And
it's beautiful.
They learned a lot.
It really is. And anyone that's listening to this, if you haven't learned, I mean, it's still running on Amazon Prime, if I'm not mistaken. And you guys have done a second season. It's phenomenal. You guys, I'll put a link through to it on the podcast and stuff as well. Gotta go watch it. It's great. Just to actually, like you said, it's just such a good story. It really is. That
I really appreciate that, Joe. It means a lot to me coming from you.
No, it is. It's just you look at this. It's this object that's built this history. We look at something that's just a car, but here's this car that's done so much. It's
taken
like Seabiscuit.
It's taken on a life of its own, and it really has.
Exactly.
It's something that surprised me too. There was a time when I went back to school and I got my MBA, and we stopped running the car, and it actually lived in a museum in Laughlin for about 7 years. And eventually, I came back to LA, and money was better at that time. And I went to my dad. I said, "Hey, Dad, why don't we just pull the car out again and run it?" And he's like, "Sure." He goes, "You want to, do it again? Let's do it." And we brought the car out, and there was more excitement. More people knew about the car and were excited about the car than when we stopped running it. And somehow the dream, legend of it grew while it was away. And that's when we started running it again. And it wasn't long after that we started filming it, and we did that series. So, it's just, and things have developed since then. Even since we began the series, we've developed the car more, done more things. In the series, we go to Bonneville, but we don't get the record. We were still working on that. It's the whole effort's a constant work in progress. And, I don't ever like to say that we're done or it's gone the fastest it's ever going to go or whatever. We're always, we've done a lot of stuff that the guys who work on the car didn't think we'd be able to do. A lot of them didn't think we'd ever be able to break 250. And we did. We've done 266. I think we could go faster. So it's a journey for all of us. And it's a journey of exploration. And it's really something I feel very lucky to be a part of. It's been a long effort, and we really love guys like you that take an interest in it and get the passion. It's a lot of fun.
So I'm not going to keep you much longer, but thank you so much for giving us a tour and talking to us. And go ride your simulator again. And tell me how the Nuremberg one goes.
Hey, anytime you want to call us here at the Big Red office, I'm here for you, Joe. Love you guys. Anytime. 157.2 at Kailani. All right.
Definitely. All right.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Joe.
Ed.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
All right.
How do I turn this off?